So Courtney and I went last night. I know you couldn't make it to the screening of the documentary "Scatter My Ashes" at Bergdorf's, and it was so interesting. I learned so much about Bergdorf Goodman that I had no idea. Of course, the huge department store in New York City has been around forever and a day. And just such interesting things about the families. And was it the Bergdorfs or the Goodmans that lived on the top floor?
The Bergdorfs.
Yeah. And I think the thing that was most interesting to me, Susie, you'll love this. So you know how they have personal shoppers? And really all the major retailers have them. But at Bergdorf's, the personal shoppers can pull down $400,000 to $500,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah, I missed my
You missed your
opportunity. I should have been doing that.
Well, you know, there's some great personal shoppers at Neiman's, and we ought to get them on the air one morning.
There are, you know, and they actually documented one of the stories of one of the personal shoppers, Betty, who's been there, I guess, for what, some odd 40 years. And, you know, they talk about her clientele and how she keeps them and how much she sells and just the influence that she has, not only on the sales floor, but in this entire department store and in this, you know, it's an empire. And, you know, they documented Linda Fargo, who's, you know, the fashion director for Bergdorf Goodman, and that when she sits front row at a fashion show, like, she is sitting there, she can make or break a collection coming into Bergdorf Goodman.
Yeah. You know what I loved about her, and you would have loved this too, is she said, when we look at clothing, we think, where would I wear this?
Yes.
Where am I going to wear this? And I thought it was
Where am I going in this?
Where am I going in this? It was such a practical way to look at fashion. You don't think of people like her, who she's this, you know, icon in the fashion world, really. You don't think about her being so practical when it comes to choosing what clothes they have in the stores.
And I think something that, you know, people, if they have a stigma about luxury retailers, whether it's Neiman's or it's Barney's or it's Saks Fifth Avenue or it's Bergdorf Goodman, I think one point that they really raised in this documentary that was really interesting to me, having a retail background, was that luxury retailers represent like what people want to be. Like, they represent the American dream. They make people aspire to be more. You know, that like girls, you know,
or to make people think you have more.
Right. Well, yeah, I guess that too. But their point was that, you know, girls going through college, they want to get that first paycheck so they can buy that first pair of designer shoes. And that when you put those shoes on, you have this feeling, you know, this feeling overwhelms you that you all of a sudden have been elevated to this next level of success, and that's what clothing does for people, that you're not buying clothing, you're buying a fantasy and you're buying this dream. And I talk about that a lot, that's what clothing is to me. You know, you can be having a horrible day and then you can put on an outfit that makes you feel like $1 million, and all of a sudden it can turn the way that you know, it can turn around your whole day. And I loved that, just because as someone that, you know, I studied fashion in school and I worked retail for 12 years. And I started at Neiman Marcus. I started at Contempo Casuals when I was 16.
I remember Contempo.
But Neiman's, you know, that's who I interned with out of college, and I had my first job with Neiman's right out of college, and they're obviously based here in Dallas, and they own Bergdorf Goodman, so it was like kind of just sentimental for me.
Well, I had a 3-week job at Neiman Marcus in the fur department.
Oh, really?
They hired me to sell furs. And the second day I was there, I sold a really big fur, and a woman came up to me and literally told me that if I just ever did that again, that I was toast.
Who was this lady?
It was the lady that had been there. Yes, it was like, this was in 1962, and I thought, you know, I don't want to get into that industry. I do not want to go in there. But that was just I think I was there a month maybe, and I walked into Mr. Leibowitz, who was head of that department, who hired me to do sales in the fur department. I said, Mr. Leibowitz, this is not for me. You know,
it's interesting.
I don't want to make enemies here.
People that work, I mean, even if you go to Neiman's North Park, I mean, there are faces that I've seen there for 10 years. You know, I'm sure there's saleswomen that have been there, you know, upwards of 20, 30 years. But it's a culture, and it's a experience.
And they are hardworking.
They are hardworking
really
people.
I loved hearing the story about Bergdorf Goodman, and of course, when you get a chance to see it, I encourage you to see it because I thought it was very interesting.